Welcome. Welcome back to the Build Show. It's a new Build Show. It's the 2026 version. Has anything changed? No, not really. Really, the biggest change is going to be the prices of things. Although, I was going back and looking because I was curious. I'm like, is it as bad as it was in 2026? Or, I'm sorry, 2026 as it was in 2022. So I went back and looked at a couple of builds we did back in 2022 during the peak, like, Ethereum mining storms. And it's not as bad. We're not there yet. It was still worse then. And trust me, there were more people buying computers then than there were now. Or building or buying. So I don't know. I feel better because it's not as bad as it was then. It was so bad then. It was almost $2,000 to build pretty close to the same rig we're going to build tonight that we're building. We're actually building this for like $500, just an FYI. But that's because there's some parts that we have that the customer provided for the build, which the most expensive part would have been the RAM. But that's the theme going into 2026 is it all budget builds? Or considered budget builds? I don't know. I feel like we're not only doing budget builds. I've got a few very nice rigs coming up here for you guys that got ordered over the last few days. So we're just waiting on some parts for some other stuff, but I'm catching up on some builds that came through over the last week, and parts are finally trickling in, and we can finally start doing builds again. I need to change that logo away from the Christmas logo because it is no longer Christmas. But you know, and I didn't update the name either. My bad. It is not build 131. Today we are going to be building build number 1 for 2026. So let's go ahead and get that fixed, and then we'll jump into the next piece, which is talking about the actual build itself. Welcome to the Build Show, Potato Army. Hello. Robert Tomzicki, welcome to the Build Show. John, yo, welcome back to the Build Show. Steve Anderson, welcome back to the Build Show. Chefy Tech over on the Twitch, welcome back to the Build Show. Tony, welcome back to the Build Show, also over on the Twitch. Intel is the only way. This is actually not Logan's build. I didn't update that. I was kind of lazy starting the stream tonight. Not gonna lie. So the exclamation point build information is inaccurate tonight. So do not follow that. It is not correct. My motherboard, RAM, M.2, and processor came out to $2,000. Tony, that's a hefty. I know. I was looking at that too because I still gotta buy the parts for my build, and I was trying to wait. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Shared with you guys a couple ideas, and I haven't gotten the BALLS's to do it. So here I am. All right, there's the name. I got to get this updated. All right. Cleaning this up. Oops. What did I... Pretty sure that's spelled correctly. I either have it misspelled on my invoice or I'm an idiot, but that is how I have it. I think I put a double L on the invoice name when I created his account. I don't think it's supposed to be two L's. Elio. Hello? Thanks. No. Sound, please. Turn it up. Oh, is this, is it too quiet? I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it. Somebody sent me a credit card. It's all right. I'll pay it off. Oh, no. No more fun for at least a month. Roy says plenty loud over here. Yeah, is my music too loud, maybe? Could turn that down a little bit. John says, I think it's fine. Intel, Roy says, plenty loud over here. Steve Anderson, I believe I can game with 16 gigs of DDR4 or DDR5. I know I can. Yeah, 16 gigs, you run 16 still. Oh, my motherboard was 149 when I bought it last year. It's 270 now. Wow. You're plenty loud on my end. Intel is the only way over on Kick. Gotcha. Thank you. All right, so running through the build real quick, guys. I'm gonna assume the audio is okay because I got the majority of people saying it was plenty loud. So Steve, I don't know if maybe you have your audio turned down over there or in the browser. I will leave soon to play some Fortnite with my friend. Nice. So Elliot's build, an explanation here as to why there's not a whole lot going on here, but he brought in some parts. So we'll get that out of the way first. He brought in some RAM from his previous build to use in the new build because, well, he's trying to do this for as low as possible. So he's got Trident Z by G.Skill, which is a DDR4 actually don't know the speed on this, but it's a CL18, but I think it's 360 or 3600 and something. 3600 I think is what it's supposed to be. But it's 4x4, so that means it's 16 gigs total through 4 sticks. So it is an older style kit, but it should still work fine on this board. And we're running the Ryzen 5 4500 on a B550 Eagle Wi-Fi 6 from Gigabyte, and we're cooling it with an Assassin X120 refined sERGB. So he did buy the CPU, the graphics card, I'm sorry, the CPU, the cooler, and the motherboard. Graphics card he also bought, but I got it for him used, and unfortunately I did see that the HDMI port has a bent pin, so the HDMI port is not going to work on this card. I was trying to save him some money on a refurbished card. Unfortunately, that is how it backfired on me. So we'll see what we can do about that. I can make sure he has a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter, because that'll work fine. Next is the Samsung solid state drive that he brought from his previous build, which is a 980 Pro, and it's a 1 terabyte SSD. So right there alone, with the 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM and the 1 terabyte SSD, he saved himself almost $300, because 16 gigs of RAM is nearing $150 right now for DDR4. Between 100 and 150 is kind of where it's landing right now, and a 1 terabyte SSD is almost $150 right now too. And you could get like a Gen 3 drive probably for as cheap as like 120 bucks. That's like the lowest I've seen. So they'll say he saved about $300 by bringing those components. Next, we have a 600 watt 80 plus white power supply. This is a Thermaltake. This is probably the lowest tier power supply I will build with, but it was also one of the cheapest at the time we're ordering all these parts. Some of the other power supplies I generally build with were all out of stock, and it's because it's right after Christmas, right after the holidays. You run into that a lot. So that is what we had to work with. This graphics card is an RX 6600, 8GB graphics card with what appears to be a damaged HDMI port, so that won't work. Most likely, unless I can somehow get the pin to bend back into place, but that looks to be a little tricky. So we'll see. I actually might be able to get it back into place, but I don't think it'll ever work perfectly going forward. The HDMI port, I wouldn't trust it anyway. So anyway, outside of that, we have an ATX power, which arrived in this box with absolutely nothing about it on it other than a sticker that it came from China, saying it came from China. It's a very, very low, a cheaper budget case. It was like $59 on Amazon, and it at least tells us that it was made in China and that it is black or white, and we have the black version of it. So that is that's what we're working with today. But saved as much money as I could on the cost of the build, because that was kind of the budget that was provided. He wanted to do this for as cheap as possible. So we worked with what we could, what he previously had, and saved some money on the graphics card by getting refurbished, though it does have a bent pin on the HDMI port, which sucks, because that wasn't really explained. And then we have a cheaper style case, which I've been meaning to try for a while, because it's, you know, $60 for an ATX case. So maybe a tiny bit quiet, but easily hearable. Normally I am on 10 volume. I'm on 16 now. Can barely hear you. It can be a YouTube thing. Possibility. Well, let me know if you guys need me to turn the microphone up. Or turn the music down, whichever. Might also be because I'm moving around and talking away from the microphone, etc. Eventually I will get one of those that wireless clip microphones. I just haven't done it yet. But that is what we are starting out with tonight, the build. Going with the theme this year of budget builds. I feel like they're going to be very popular this year. So let's do it. Let's get into the build. Actually, don't really need to move these parts out of the way too much, because they're just going to go on the board here anyway. Do. Nobody heard that. Yeah, just let me know. I'll go back and take a look at the audio stuff, but nothing's changed. I mean, I can hear you in my bedroom at volume 50% from the living room. Nice. I'm gonna go now. Have a good build. Oh, thank you, John. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out for a bit. The one good thing about RAM is you shouldn't have to ever buy it again. Shouldn't. Keyword. I don't even know if this is good RAM or bad RAM, so hopefully this is good RAM. I did give him a heads up saying, hey, if we buy these components or if we use the used components and they don't work, that he would have to be prepared to buy new ones if we're not able to get them working, or we have to go source them somewhere. So in order to finish the build, and he was very, very open to that, and agreed that we would have to go do that if we had to. Okay, so I want to match these. That's 7.6, 7.5, 7.7, 7.8. So I'm going to do 7.5 here, which should be the first slot, right? And then I'll do 7.6 here. Then I'll do 77 here. What I'm reading is the serial number. This is a hit of 4 matching. That's the best thing I can do to give it the best possible chance of working. The RAM. I'm just throwing that in there first because that was already open. I'm ready to go in. Yeah, I forgot I already opened this. This one I already... Technically, yes, we could have saved $20 and ran the stock cooler, but for the 20, I think a stock air power air cooler is going to do really good in this situation. I'm really hoping that shows its worth. I already know it will. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw this M.2 in. I'm actually going to leave this slot available. This is our Gen 4 slot, and if he upgrades his CPU later down the road, he can put a Gen 4 SSD in. And I'm going to put the SSD with a heatsink on the SSD down here at the bottom. In the Gen 3 slot. You tell me if I'm an idiot. I don't know if I am or not, but that is my sense to it, is the Gen 3 drive. Why put it in the Gen 4 slot? There's that. Next is our cooler. We can go ahead and open up and get this installed. We're probably going to cook through this pretty quick, so if we... Got some more stuff we can do. Plus we want to go arc rating. Guys got me into arc rating. Arc raiders, sorry. Last week. Played that a few times. I still don't know what I'm doing in Arc Raider. It's still confusing to me because there's so many things you gotta learn, but so many different things and so many things you need to upgrade workbenches, etc. Seems like more work, and then the anxiety once you get a bunch of loot and you're trying to get back to the elevator or a hatch if you have a key. I do know that. But getting back to the elevator, let's say you're over encumbered and you're heavy, you're walking slow, man. It's the anxiety in that I get from playing that game. It's just overwhelming. I get a lot of anxiety in that, but it's fun. You have to almost not care about the loot, but care enough to care. You want to hear something funny? My motherboard has 7 M.2 spots. Yeah, it's because it's that crazy motherboard you got. Extract, yes. The extraction, thank you for the term. I never play extraction style games. And I finally played Arc Raider. Probably not even calling it the right name. But it's fun. Fun with people you know. You know? Gosh, what are we tied up on here? Oh yeah, going back to the last build that we did in 2025, remember how we had the issue where it wouldn't post? I ended up replacing that memory just as a end result from the previous build. I need to start doing previously on Empower gaming computers and then do an intro that way. But we ended up replacing the memory on that. Took almost a week to get the memory that I ordered to get here, which sucked. But it is what it is. I can't control that because we were buying very specific white-colored RGB RAM that I knew was going to work, and that Cleve brand is actually turning out to be really, really good, especially with AMD and Intel. Both platforms, that RAM works very nicely, and I'm pretty impressed. Like, I haven't found a kit bad yet, and I've probably built with it like 10 times now, 10 or 12 times, and versus, you know, with G-Skill, I ran into like every other kit. I feel like I'm running into a bad stick. I think it's because they're gonna stop making them, Roy. They've pretty much eliminated production of that entire platform. So those are gonna start disappearing, and they're gonna keep getting more expensive. So if you go back and look at like 10th gen or 11th gen boards, those are really pricey because they don't make them anymore. Same thing's happening with the Z790 chipset. Can't find one under 300 bucks. Yeah, you're not. Well, check Micro Center, and if there's one there that I could grab you, let me know. The Madison Heights, Michigan store location, if you want to be specific about store inventory. I gotta go there actually tomorrow. Tomorrow or Sunday I gotta go there. So let me know if I can pick you up. They generally have those boards because they still have a ton of 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen story. I just don't know the prices on them. I don't build on that platform anymore except for maybe 12th gen. It would be because their CPU motherboard RAM bundle, they have like an i9 12900K, 32 gigs of DDR5 memory, and an ATX Z790 board for like 400 bucks or 400 and something dollars, and it's like unbeatable price for a CPU with that many cores. Can't really beat that. Plus the DDR5 memory, it's... Sheesh! Sheesh! Some giant idiot, the build is inaccurate, so the build command is going to spit out inaccurate information. Sorry, I was lazy, I didn't start 2026 off very good, very well. I didn't update that, that was Logan's build, that was the last build in 2025. So the exclamation point build command is inaccurate. Plus, it doesn't look like it's working on Twitch. There's that. Right back to where Twitch commands have stopped working again. Worked over on Kick. Yes, that's inaccurate. Alright. So, better eye on this, and then we'll bust the case out. Alright, I'm gonna put on this because I'm that guy. Okay, let's go ahead and get the case out. Start working on that. Oh, that was an interesting command. It's just some giant idiot. So what's the build then? And also, how many streams did I miss? Probably many more than I wanted to. Bri, man, I don't know. I don't know how many builds you've missed. When was the last time you were on? We do have the episode number, and also the build count kind of helps track the episodes and streams. But this is the very first build of 2026. I don't know where you left off last stream. In the build. Good question. So it's a Ryzen 5 4500. It is a B550 gigabyte Eagle Wi-Fi 6 motherboard. It's got 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. It's 4x4, meaning there's 4 sticks at 4 gigabytes each. The customer provided this from their previous rig. And then we have a 1 terabyte 980 Samsung 980 Pro SSD, which is a Gen 3 drive with a heatsink on it. That was also provided from a previous computer from the customer, so that saved him about $300 on this build. It was about $120 for 16 gigs DDR4, and it's about $130 ish. So at 250, between 250 300, depending on how much or what RAM and what SSD you're looking at, but we'll say between 250 and 300 that you saved. Thermalright Assassin X120 SE Tower air cooler, got a 600 watt 80 plus white power supply, and a AMD Radeon RX 6600, which is a very good card for the amount of money. The amount of money he has into this is like under $500, with everything here, and the case, which is a no-name brand. ATX is very ATX budgety tower. But for the price, you cannot go wrong with this. Number one of asking for oh man, there's 2 people in the chat now that says day one asking for a free computer. LOL. In this economy, good luck. Yes. In this economy, sadly, we are struggling. If you look at my build count from past years, we have tremendously dropped our build counts, which means I'm not making any money, guys. I'm barely staying afloat when it comes to the business side of things. Oh, restricted. It was build 100, I think. Oh, well, that means you missed. What if you? There's about 30 builds that you missed. Doesn't necessarily mean there was 30 streams. So I'll have to actually get the name of the tower, the manufacturer of this tower. But for $60 and its features, from what I'm reading online, it's not bad as long as it survives the shipping, because the packaging isn't that great and the box it's a very light box. But it's an ATX mid tower. Got the power supply basement, which is really nice. It's got a little shallow glass, which is kind of a cool feature. And it is toolless entry on the glass panel, which I was pretty impressed with, by the way. For this budget style case, usually you don't have toolless entry. Usually it's like 4 screws on the glass. So the toolless entry on the glass side panel was pretty impressive for the price. The fact that you could install an AIO at the top of this case, depending on what motherboard you get, and how tall your RAM is, you should be able to, because it's deep enough, to install an AIO at the top. Also, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 included fans, though they are not PWM fans. I'm pretty sure these are just power supply fans where they plug into the power supply. And you're probably gonna, hopefully, I actually don't know if you can change the RGB or not. I'm pretty sure you can. But the front of it is completely mesh, which is another, again, feature that I really liked, is kind of the really open mesh airflow design. The back of the case does have 2 thumb screws, and I'll tell you what, the plastic was ripped up a little bit on this screw during shipping, it looks like, but that's what I meant by if it survives shipping, it'll be okay. Very, very thin packaging. Fake news, the economy is bigger and better than ever. I'm not a case expert, but I think it looks good. Yeah, it's a decent case. Now the backside, there is smaller than normal space that we would be working with in more premium cases between the back panel and this panel here for cable management. But for the most part, oh, and it looks like these are PWM fans. They just have their own unique connector. And then that connector has a PWM connection and an addressable RGB connector. So that's actually really cool. For the price. Pretty impressive. Oh yeah, the I/O on the bottom of this case. Oh. The I/O on the bottom of this case is USB-C, USB 3, I think USB 2.0. I believe that is a reset, or it is a RGB controller button, but I'm pretty sure it's reset and power. And then you have LEDs and HD audio, a single connector, which means if you have a headset from a controller, this should have both your microphone and your audio under one connector, which is pretty impressive, because most cases, except for like NZXT and I think Height, do that, and that's more of a premium style. So the case design itself is very, very good. The feel is very good, like the quality of the metal. It doesn't feel like flimsy, cheap, metal. It's not thin. It actually feels like a decent tower, except for maybe the mesh up here at the top is a little bit flimsy, but compared to other cheaper cases, this is pretty impressive. The metal is rolled on the edges so I can't cut myself. This has got premium written all over it. Again, metal is rolled so I'm not cutting myself, sticking my finger in any of these holes. Nobody cut that out of context, please. Anyway, rolled metal is good, which means you're not going to cut your fingers building. This is kind of my first look at this case. And it's got 2.5-inch plates for 2.5-inch drives. It's got a 3.5-inch drive bay down here, which looks like you could support 2 drives on that. And a pretty decent power supply basement, as well as, you don't normally see this on cheaper cases, but a PCIe power supply cable. And, I just noticed this, and you can install fans on the bottom here and pull air from the basement through, which I don't see any mesh except for the power supply there, so that it can pull air from any route. There's nowhere to pull the air from, but except for, I guess, this bottom fan here on the front. Half of the fan is in the basement, I guess, to cool the hard drives. It's pretty impressive, guys. I'm actually pretty impressed with a $60 ATX tower that includes 6 addressable RGB fans. So if you're a budget builder, this would probably be a very popular case to build in. I'm not a case expert, but I think it looks good. Just wondering, but have you ever played Satisfactory? I have not. I got it, and I can't stop playing it. Tony says it's a good-looking case. Yeah, I think it's decent. Wait, Z790? No. What? Some daddy. W. Yeah. Yeah, they are hard to come by, yes. The Z790s are hard to find. Micro ATX Z790s especially. Bryman. I got this new game and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So let's just say I got distracted. Oh, you're good. Don't worry about it. And thank you, some China idiot, for cleaning that up. Hell, just what last year the cheap build Ben did is the price of 32 gigs DDR5 RAM now alone. I know. The $500 build that we did, or $550 build we did. Yeah, that was hard to do last year. That was kind of like, can we do a $550 PC build? And the answer is last year. Yes, this year, I don't know if we could do it without going like 90% used parts. Because even then, I'd say the only part that was used was the graphics card, right? I don't know, I have to... That would be kind of a fun challenge to do again in 2026 after the RAM increase and the storage increase. That'd be fun. All right. So there is some stuff that comes with the territory of cheaper cases. That is your this type of situation where you have these cables and these fans that are just kind of hanging here. What do you do with them? I actually don't know what to do with these. Oh, thank you for the follow. Diaz Daz I don't even know how to pronounce your name. Can you help me figure out what's up with my PC? Sure. And welcome to the build show. I'll give it my best shot, but if it gets to be an in-depth troubleshooting session, we might have to throw it over to the Discord channel, which, if you want to join the Discord channel, it is !Discord in the chat. Thank you, some giant idiot. Hopefully that comes through and lands there. If not, I could copy and paste it. Thank you for going over to YouTube to grab the link. I don't know why the OBS Streamlabs commands don't always work over on Twitch. Some days it works, some days it don't. I guess I gotta go turn. You know what? Let me go try this. Yeah, I guess we have to add one more thing to the list of everything that we have to do before we start a stream, is disable Streamlabs bot thing and then re-enable it, because that's how I fix that. All right. Okay. Your PC is cooked. Time to get a new one. It's not my PC. It's literally Streamlabs, because it's coming from Streamlabs, from the cloud. I guess maybe back down to my computer. I don't know how it works, but I know the Cloud Bot is literally called Cloud Bot. Your PC is cooked. Thanks. And after a few seconds, my RAM LEDs come on. I get a red. Okay, my PC turned off while playing instantly. Okay, so you're playing your PC and it shut off instantly and doesn't turn back on. I get a red flash from my motherboard for 1 second. And after a few seconds, my RAM LEDs come on. That sounds like... I mean, it honestly sounds like a power supply. Do you have any way to test the power supply? Like another power supply you could test with? especially if the fans don't turn on when you hit the power button. Mini explosion. Yeah. Probably a power supply. That would be my first guess, especially if it was running and then just shut off. All of your friends said that. Let me guess. You replace the power supply, it's still doing it? That would be my guess. No fan spin at all. I get a blink of a RGB from my GPU and then it shuts off. Yeah, that would say probably the power supply, or you have something in the rig shorting it. Like, weird question, but I've seen this before. Being, you know, servicing people's PCs for many, many years, guys, I've seen stuff. If you have a bug problem in your house, it's very possible a bug climbed somewhere and is now creating a ground. Not saying you have bugs in your house, just throwing that out there. Bugs will climb and burrow into the computer because it's nice and warm, and they like to climb into weird places and create ground. So, I've seen that before. You said, I have a 3070 Ryzen 5 9600X and a PSU is a VS650. I don't know what VS650. That's actually where the term came from, some giant idiot. Back on an electronic board, a transfer board for telecommunications. There was a bug, a moth, that like got into one of their systems in the back and created that's where the term came from, is the bug. My software has bugs, or my computer has bugs. That is where the term came from way back in the day, before actual computers were a thing. That VS650 might be a lower tier Corsair. It's kind of what it reminds me of. It sounds like a green, like one of those green ones, like older style PSUs. Where'd you get the power supply from, and was it used? It sounds like a lower tier power supply, so that would be my first guess. Especially with the behavior, I would say power supply. Starting to see prices offer bring your own RAM builds. That actually might be a really good idea. Some giant idiot. Maybe I should do that. Hey, bring your own RAM. Okay. Let's get this motherboard in here. And comes with the territory. Budgety case. Doesn't have all the studs in here for ATX. We will have to add that. No big deal. It was used for like 3 years, maybe. Yeah, it sounds like the power supply, unfortunately, is bad. So that would be the first thing I would do, is replace the power supply and see if that helps it. Buy it somewhere where you can return it, though. So, for example, buy one from Amazon. You can easily just return it if it isn't that. But I'm like 80% leaning on the power supply. If it took anything else with it, that's going to make troubleshooting it even more difficult, especially if you don't have a shop. It might even be worth considering, if you don't have a lot of experience troubleshooting, taking it to a shop who has all these components there that will make this troubleshooting a lot faster. So they'll be able to tell you, hey, it's your power supply, because they should have one of these, which is a power supply tester. So I could literally throw this on your power supply. Just the fact that I'm here and not there, I can't do it, but I could literally throw this on your power supply and tell you whether or not your power supply is good or bad. And it would just be the time that it takes me to plug the 24 pin in, and I'd probably want to plug in your EPS and PCIe, because those are probably the 3 primary connectors that you're using. But that'll tell me if it's good or bad right off the rip. And a shop should have one of those, especially if they do custom PC builds. And if not, then they'll have a power supply there that they can easily just throw in there and tell you whether or not, even without taking your old power supply out, they can just unplug it and plug a power supply in and let you know if it's going to fire it up or not. RAM! Yeah, Dread. I hear you. The RAM prices are ridiculous. Same with storage, honestly. SSDs have gotten a little bit out of hand. I cannot wait for them to come back down to reality. Although this might be... Hey, what's up, Killer? Over on the kick. This might be the new reality. Who knows? Does anybody actually know? He basically just said it shuts itself down to protect my parts. This is true. That is what it's doing. The power supply has its own failsafe built in. Keep it from damaging anything. So, and that's usually the sign of a bad ground or a cable plugged in incorrectly, sending power where it shouldn't be. So, definitely something I would start with is the power supply. Ben's an hour deep into the motherboard, hasn't even put it in the case. 51 minutes, brah. We're 51 minutes in. We've been talking. You see what I'm drinking over here, Roy? This is the reason why I'm talking a lot. Sugar-free Red Bull. Everybody, calm down. I'm milking this build if you didn't catch on. Milking the build like crazy. I wanted to go arc raiding tonight. Friday night. Okay, so the threads, not so good. That one's just spinning away, so oh well. I gotta drop this in there real quick, and then we'll get the board in before an hour. The thing is that it keeps messing with me, is it happened as soon as I went to grab my iPhone charger cable at the back of the PC. Oh, so question: your charger was on the back of the PC and you were using your phone to charge, or your PC to charge your phone? Don't do that. I don't recommend that, and I always tell people that. Like anything that's drawing a crazy ton of power from your USB ports, it's never a good thing, because that's drawing on your motherboard, that's drawing wear and tear on your power supply, and I've seen USB ports fail and motherboards fail a ton from those types of things, and I'm talking like USB powered fans or people using the computer to charge their phone. It is not meant for that. What charging blocks are for, and that's why they're like 15 bucks. See, now you got to replace a whole power supply in your computer to charge your phone up. Don't do that. Don't recommend it. Future. So that's more of a reason why it's most likely the power supply. So I would replace the power supply, and that'll probably solve the problem. And for anybody else that is charging their phone on the computer, that is something I usually advise not to do. Use the charging block. Well, that's not right. No, it's definitely not right, Roy. That was the last build for 2025. Have you caught on to what's going on this night? Yeah, let me know how it goes. Diaz. That's literally his name over on Twitch, guys. I don't know what to call him. Hey, what's up, Lucky? Welcome back to the Build Joe. Might I ask specs for this build? That's a good question. Hello. Minecraft. Right, man. I'm back. My dogs, or I let my dogs out, and now snuggling with them. Nice. Dogs need a good snuggle. Episode 589? Question mark! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Question mark! Exclamation point! Actually, yes, it is 589. Is there something wrong with 589? All right, so the specs for this build is a Ryzen 5 4500. The cooler is a Thermalright Assassin X120. About a $17 or $18 cooler, $20-ish. Customer brought his own RAM, so this is actually 4x4 G.Skill Trident Z DDR4. The motherboard we did provide, or didn't provide, but he bought, which is a B550 Eagle by Gigabyte. It's a Wi-Fi 6 board. And then he also brought, down here at the bottom, a Samsung 980 Pro 1TB M.2 NVMe SSD. And then the case is a unknown brand case. It's a $60 case that included 6 addressable RGB fans, which are actually, in fact, PWM and addressable RGB. We'll be able to control that through the motherboard, which is really nice. And then we have an RX 6600 and a 600 watt Thermaltake 80 plus white power supply. So total in the build, total in parts, we have $431 total in parts. That is his cost to build this, because he provided the RAM and the SSD, which was about another $300 if we bought that new. And we went refurbished on the graphics card, although the downside is I noticed now we have a damaged HDMI port, which I didn't catch earlier, unfortunately. So we'll figure that one out. He's got 3 display ports, and I'm assuming they work. So we'll find out. But that is a very budget-friendly build that we are doing, and it's good that he's providing some of the parts to save some of the cost. All right. So now that we've got the motherboard officially in here, under an hour, for the record, Roy. We can move on to getting some of the front panel stuff plugged in, and then from there we could get the graphics card in and install the power supply and pretty much do some basic cable management and fire this thing up. I also still don't know how I'm going to do this. Doing there. A whole lot of getting the crap out of me. Maybe I can get a zip tie through here from the top side, but we'll make future a pain in the butt if you don't remember to. Okay, the RAM. This older style DDR4 RAM cuts the crap out of your fingers when you rub up on it. Kind of sucks. Okay, we got a little zip tie here to hold the cable up to the ceiling of the case. It's not as like droopy here. That looks a lot nicer. Thank goodness. A lot cleaner. All right, and then we have our ARGB here for our tower air cooler plugged in at the top ARGB port. We do have addressable RGB ports down here at the bottom, which is daisy chain, so we only need one more for the rest of these fans. Well, let's get all of that. Actually, USB-C and USB 3 is all at the bottom. Pretty much everything else is going to be at the bottom of the board here. We got our PWM for fans, addressable RGB, our HD audio, USB 2.0 and USB 3.0 and USB-C, and our front panel power reset LEDs, all down here at the bottom. Yeah. All right, USB 3. Pretty sure I saw there. Oh, this is interesting. So it's USB-C, but it's running on a USB 3 header. That is interesting. So that USB-C, now that I know, is a little false. It is actually USB 3.0 speeds offering a USB-C connector. You're not going to get the true USB-C performance out of that front port. But, not the end of the world. All things considered, so we're getting a really good deal overall for this case. Oh, this daisy chain worked out really nice. Actually, these fans perform nicely. I'm going to be even more impressed. Alright, so we fished all the cables through to the front side. Now I'm going to flip it over and get everything plugged in here. This part of the build is where you would reference your motherboard manual if you're unsure where everything goes. But if you're like me and you've built 1,000 computers lifetime in the last 5 years, then you should know where they go. I actually really enjoy this tune, by the way. The classic red RAM color, I know. Red pecker. I mean the red cherry bomb look. You ever drive by a car, or a car drive by you, and it sounds like, we call them rice burners here in Michigan. It's so bad. Don't say that out loud. But anyway, if you call it that, if you want to call it. Anyway, it has a cherry bomb on it. Usually make fun of it and call it a red pecker. Poking out of the back of the car. I used to have one, so I can make fun of them. Back when I was younger. My 4-banger Dodge Neon. Thought I was the coolest thing ever. With a loud car. Gaining probably 0.5 horsepower by chopping off my exhaust and putting a red cherry bomb on the back. It was actually supposed to go on the middle of the pipe. So I just put it on the end. And removed the exhaust so it'd be straight pipe. It actually did give it a little bit of a boost off the line. But that was it. You could feel a little bit more power. Either that or it was all in my head. It's probably all in my head. Alright. Well, that's why I can make fun of them, because I used to have one. Okay, that doesn't come off. Don't forget that. This has to come off. What's this? On. Oh, that decides to come off now. So while I'm sitting there wiggling the crap out of it, it does not want to come off. Only when I'm not touching it. Which tells me it's going to be a nightmare to put back on. It wasn't. There we go. Looking pretty nice. Pretty impressed so far with the case. It's not too bad. If you're looking for a budget ATX tower for $60 with 6 addressable RGB fans that are PWM, good deal. Hey, what's up, Al? Alcohol. Welcome back to the Build Show. Hey, on the Intel boards, do you recommend putting the AIO on before or after you put in the case? So I would put, just like all my builds, Tony, I would do the CPU, the contact frame on the motherboard out of the case. That is number one thing you want to do, is make sure you do that out of the case first. Then your RAM, your SSD, and your AIO mounting brackets can go next. And then put that all into the motherboard, or into the case, and then install your AIO and mount the AIO to the socket. Typically, AIO itself goes last, but the mounting hardware you want to get on the motherboard before you put it in the case, just because it makes it a little easier to deal with it. You want to do as much as you can on the motherboard outside of the case, as much as possible. This makes it a little easier. Yeah. Yes, so many different ways to say hi. Hello there. Or no. Hello there. Crap, it dropped through. Hello there. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hola, ¿cómo estás? All right. It's been a while since I've touched a Thermalright 80 plus white power supply. We'll say they finally got rid of their ketchup mustard cables, so not too shabby on the looks department. There we go. And next, besides having all these extra cables here, I'm actually just gonna put a zip tie around like this. This has got to be the easiest cable man I've ever done. It's literally just put a zip tie here. Flip this around. And there's the case minus like a tie up here. Like, what? Okay, other than these being tangled, not too bad. I like to take the time to untangle the power supply cables. Let me know if that's dumb. Silly sometimes, but at the same time I'm like, nah, I gotta do it because I can't help myself. And then, which we have, EQ slot. PCIe power slot. Flip it over, plug it in. Tie it, fire it up. That port, I just remembered my monitor over here is HDMI. And this port doesn't work. In all the way because I didn't feel it. Okay. Cool, thanks. That's as far as I got. Nice. Yeah, I saw that you got almost all your parts there. I just wait until I have everything there. I guess I'm trying to do it fine. Kind of hard to do it build. Oh, for crying out. There we go. Nice and clean. Eventually, I'm going to put the 9070 XT in my current computer. I bought the Black Kite X50. Yes, I did see that over on Discord. I really, really like that case. I'm going to swap out my current PC into that. Nice. Sounds like a fun project. Swap it out. Right, other than the HDMI port. That cable management turned out really nice in here. Let's get this thing fired up for the very first. Can't use any. All right. Elliot, are you here? Are you here to tell us to smash that power button, push the power button, move the bus, punch it, and scream like Chewbacca? We'll give him a second because I did send him the link. I don't know if you saw or if he joined us. And Jesse over on Facebook, thank you for the like. Karen, also thank you for the like over on Facebook. Ron as well over on Facebook. Thank you, all of you, for the likes over there. All right. I'm going to assume he's not here in chat with us. So I'm going to go ahead and punch the power button on his behalf. This one's for you, Elliot. Oh, yeah. I just wanted you guys to see the front RGB there. It's actually really cool looking. Drop those. Oops, wrong chat. Wrong tab. Hey, look at that. We got display through the display part. That's a good sign. Yeah. Fans look like they are pushing some air too, which is decent. Yeah, pretty clean for 430 bucks basically, plus his used components. You like the front fins? I know, for a budget style case, it is actually pretty good. You know, you won't be able to daisy chain any additional fans, obviously, and I don't think you would want to after 6. But, I mean, it's it was pretty decent for $60. I gotta give them credit. I guess the only negative would be the threads for the studs on the motherboard. That was kind of cheesy. When I threaded one of the studs, it just kept spinning, so it was kind of cheap there. I don't know if that was the threads on the stud or threads on the metal. I'm assuming it's the metal, the threading on the case itself. And then I would say the only other thing I could complain about is the fact that the USB-C is not truly USB-C. It's running through the USB 3.0 header. So that it's split USB-C and USB 3 on a USB 3.0 header is actually what's happening there. So other than that, the case isn't bad. But I mean, for the budget, it's decent. It's an ATX tower. You could put a 240 millimeter AIO in here probably on the top. Looks like there's going to be enough clearance there. If you look, there's plenty of room there to fit a cooler if we needed to. And it's got a mesh front for the airflow. You could install some bottom fans if you needed to. Though I don't think it's going to be drawing a ton of air outside of the bottom front fan is pushing air into the basement. So you could load this up if you wanted to a little bit. Yeah. Storage options. It's decent for $60. That's less than my M.2. Yeah. Yeah, the total of this build was $430. But of course, like I keep saying or reminding you, he provided some of the parts from his old build, so pretty decent for the start of 2026. That's probably going to be the cheapest build that we do this entire year. Just so everybody's aware. Because right now, the cheapest I've been quoting people for builds with 16 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD is about $800. So the cheapest to get into like an entry level build is close to $800 for me to do it. And I'm not making a fortune off of these builds. These are crappy times, but like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, it is not as bad as it was in 2022. 2022, a Ryzen 5 5600, which by the way was latest and greatest platform for AM4, Ryzen 5 5600X with 16 gigs of RAM, a 1 terabyte M.2 Gen 4 SSD, and a RTX 3060 Ti on a B550 motherboard with a 650 watt power supply. Guess how much that cost in 2022 to build? I said it earlier in the beginning of the stream too. If you were here the whole time, you know. LGA 1700 builds DDR4 super fast CAS will smoke $5,200 or 5200 DDR5. Oh yeah. Yeah, it will. I'm not a big fan of anything less than like 6000 CL30 from DDR5. Every now and then we'll do more budgety CL36, but maintain 6000 megahertz at least. Yeah, so you must have gotten like a 4 terabyte drive, Tony. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure you got 4. But there you go, Elliot. It is built. I'm going to load up Windows for you and get the drivers and BIOS sorted out. And should have it ready for pickup some point tomorrow. DDR4 goes to what, 3800, something like that. Yeah. So well, actually, no, it goes up to like 4200 or something. It's actually it goes up there. 4200, I think. 4000 or 4200. I think the most you could buy it for was like 4000. They have 4000 megahertz kits, but they were higher CL latencies, CAS latencies, TLs. So the sweet spot for like AM4 was like 3600 CL16 or lower. That was like a sweet spot for best price to perform dollar performance conversion was CL16 at 3600. And if you could get a lower CL, it would be even better. Of course, that was for AMD. I don't know if that's the same thing with the Intel LGA 1700 platform or the 600 chipset or 700 chipset. Don't know. I would assume so. Oh, thank you for the follow over there on the Twitch side. Blooded. But there we have it, guys. That is the build for tonight. I am only doing this build tonight to rip off the 2026 season. But I will most likely be back tomorrow to do some more builds. I do have some running around to do tomorrow. I have to go to Micro Center either tomorrow or Sunday. I haven't decided yet or not if I'm going to make the 30-minute drive down. I say that as if it's really far from me. Not. But I also have a couple of business customers I have to go over to. Pretty sure I just inhaled a fruit fly. Pretty sure that just happened. You guys ever buy fruit from the grocery store and then all of a sudden you have an infestation of fruit flies? That happened to us this like past week. And I've got all these fruit fly traps set to catch these bastards because they just keep coming back. Every time we get rid of them, we think we got rid of them. They keep coming back. And I don't know where they're coming from. I'm starting to lose my mind. Fruit flies, man. They get you. But it always comes from the store. So my advice to you for anybody who buys fruit, put it in like a container. And if you see a development of fruit flies, throw it outside. Because it's such a pain in the butt to get rid of these bastards. All right, Ben, have a good night. Yes, have a good night, Roy. And thank you, everybody who joined us for tonight's build. And look forward to seeing you on the next build stream. Most likely going to be tomorrow night. Another build stream. We have a couple of, well, one is an upgrade, actually. So we have an existing system that I previously built that we're going to upgrade. And then two is another complete budget build. If the graphics card shows up tomorrow, I'm waiting for it. It's coming from Zotac. Hasn't shown up yet. Starting to freak out because it's been like a week. I told them we'd be building it on the weekend because I figured the graphics card would already be here, but UPS hasn't delivered for me. So, done the story of parts this week. Where the hell is it? We've been playing Where the Hell is the Part? Anyway, tomorrow night. Have a good night, guys. Get out there gaming. It's Friday night. Why are you still here? Go on. Get out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you, if you're new to the channel, grab the Discord channel. Exclamation point Discord in the chat. Thank you, some giant idiot. And actually, that was Roy. Sorry. Thank you, Roy, for dropping that. And some giant idiot over on the Twitch side. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Join us there on the Discord channel for any news and updates. Have a good night, guys.